Hello and welcome to The World Today. I'm Layo Olarinde. Here's what's coming up on the program. The UK warns Israel not to annex parts of the West Bank in retaliation for the UK, Canada and Australia's recognition of Palestinian statehood. The high-level general debate at the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly to begin on the 23rd to the 27th. Plus, President Donald Trump hails Charlie Kirk as martyr as widow Erik says she forgives her husband's killer. Let's begin the world today. The United Kingdom is warning Israel not to annex parts of the West Bank in retaliation for the UK's recognition of Palestinian statehood. Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper said this before attending a conference at the United Nations in New York, where France and other European states are due to make a similar announcement. In what is seen as a significant change in policy, UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer announced the recognition of a Palestinian state by the UK on Sunday, alongside Canada, Australia and Portugal. France is gearing up to join the UK, Canada and Australia in recognizing a Palestinian state, along with other European countries. It's due to make the announcement when world leaders gather later ahead of the UN General Assembly in New York. Well, in response to this, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said this recognition gives a huge reward to terrorism, adding that a Palestinian state will not happen. While there are concerns, Israel would take this declaration as a pretext for annexing parts of the West Bank. However, Ms. Cooper said she has made it clear to her Israeli counterpart that he and his government must not do that, as the UK has been clear that this decision is about the best way to respect the security for Israel, as well as the security for Palestinians. Well, like we've mentioned earlier, Britain, Canada, Australia and Portugal have all recognized the Palestinian state on Sunday in a move born out of frustration over the war in Gaza, and it's intended to promote a two-state solution, promoting a furious response from Israel. The decision by four nations from the West, which traditionally are allied with Israel, aligned them with more than 140 other countries also backing Palestinians' aspiration to forge an independent homeland from the occupied territories.
The UK Prime Minister's announcement came out of the need to revive the hope of peace and a two-state solution, said Mr. Keir Starmer.
In the face of the growing horror in the Middle East, we are acting to keep alive the possibility of peace and a two-state solution. That means a safe and secure Israel alongside a viable Palestinian state. At the moment, we have neither.
The Prime Minister warned that tens of thousands have been killed amid Israel's relentless and increasing bombardment of Gaza and the humanitarian crisis. He urged the Israeli government to lift what he called the unacceptable restrictions at the border, stop the cruel tactics and let the aid surge in.
Said that the bigger the lie, the faster it will spread.
The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in a video released on Sunday evening, accused the leaders of the UK, Canada and Australia of giving a huge reward to terrorism, and that there will be no Palestinian state. Netanyahu says that for years he has prevented the establishment of this so-called terrorist state in the face of pressure. He also says a response to the latest attempt to impose a terrorist state on Israel and the heart of the country will be given after he returns from the US, where he will attend the UN General Assembly in New York this week. On the other hand, Hamas, which has been designated a terrorist organization, has welcomed the news. The group released a statement on Sunday evening saying, "The recognition is an important step in affirming the right of our Palestinian people to their land and holy sites, and to establish their independent state with Jerusalem as its capital." Hamas, however, wants the move to be accompanied by practical measures that will lead to an immediate end to the war in Gaza and confront settlement plans in the West Bank.
Bonjour à tous. Écoutez, je voulais faire cette petite...
French President Emmanuel Macron commended the news of more countries recognizing the Palestinian state, saying the Middle East is at the beginning of a journey towards peace. He said France wants two states living side by side in peace. So far, 151 of the 193 United Nations member states have recognized the state of Palestine, with more countries intending to make the announcement at the UN General Assembly this week.
Well, world leaders are preparing for their 15 minutes on the world stage as the United Nations General Assembly High-Level Week gets underway on Tuesday in New York. This year, the world body is marking its 80th anniversary, but many diplomats believe there's not much to celebrate. The UN Security Council has been deadlocked over Russia's war against Ukraine and Israel's war against Hamas in Gaza. The United Nations itself is facing financial cutbacks, largely from the United States. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said in a news conference this week that the UN General Assembly will bring nearly 150 heads of state and government to the headquarters, offering every possibility for dialogue and mediation.
We are facing a global crisis. Conflicts are multiplying in a context in which geopolitical divides do not allow to effectively address them. There is a sense of impunity. Every country believes they can do whatever they want. So in this context, we absolutely need leaders to come here and to turn the tide, to come here and understand that international cooperation is vital in a moment like this, to come here and do the negotiations and the mediations that are necessary to at least create hope for peace in some of the situations we are facing. I believe that there will be a clear demonstration that the overwhelming majority of the countries in the world recognize the right of the Palestinian people to self-determination, recognize that there must be a Palestinian state and recognize it in the meeting we'll have on Monday, and at the same time send a very clear message that the carnage that is happening in Gaza has to end, that we need a ceasefire immediately, with the release of all hostages immediately too, and with effective humanitarian aid in Gaza that is suffering the highest level of death and destruction that I've seen since I'm Secretary General. The suffering of the Sudanese people is horrible. So I think it's time for the Security Council to be able to take, with the agreement of all the key powers, very tough measures on Sudan, to make those Sudanese parties understand that what they are doing is a crime against their own people. As we live in a world of impunity, it is easy for countries that see the examples of big powers waging war, as in the case of the Ukraine. There is a stimulus for mid-sized countries to try to solve their ambitions or their problems through war, instead of negotiation, instead of compromise. And this is becoming a pattern that needs to be strongly opposed.
In the meantime, the UN Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed says many countries today will not have issues that are seen and visible at the United Nations if the body did not exist in today's world. She was speaking on the significance of the world body marking its 80th anniversary in New York. This was in an exclusive interview with the host of Channels Television's Inside Sources, Laolu Akonde.
If we're not here tomorrow, what would happen? Many countries would not have issues that are seen, are visible at the United Nations, would not be visible anymore. And that would say you put them in the dark, you leave them behind. And when that happens, terrible things go on. The war in Sudan may not be given the same visibility. What is happening in Myanmar would not be given the same visibility. We would not convene to try to get a solution. It's not that the solution can be gotten immediately. These things are very complex. By the time you see what you're seeing in Ukraine, in Gaza, in Sudan, you have to trace back what really has caused these conflicts to be. And for that, you need to, first of all, get a ceasefire, but in the course of getting ceasefire, negotiate our way back to peace. That's very difficult.
It's very difficult, and that's...
So I think that, but this is a place. We convene for solutions that are huge challenges individually, sometimes collectively, that can only be resolved by a number of parties. It's international collaboration.
Right.
That's what we do. I see it as a global town hall for our village. We have come far in 80 years, and to say that we want to go back doesn't make sense for all those who are still aspiring to have a world that is more equal, more peaceful, and fairer in the share of prosperity.
Well, joining us now on the program is Dr. Erik founder, Water Light Save Initiative and Sustainable Development Advocate. He joins us from New York, where he's also attending meetings and events at the General Assembly Hall at the United Nations headquarters. Thank you so much, Dr. Erik, for joining us on the program.
Thank you, Lai, for having me today.
Well, it's yet another UN General Assembly, and it's quite significant. The body is marking its 80th anniversary under various circumstances we are seeing in the world today. How's the atmosphere at the venue?
I would say it's quite energetic. You can feel both the fact that the world is happy that the United Nations is 80 years. You can also feel the tension on the air as well because of what is going on around the world. And I would say that the world is actually at this point clamoring for peace globally. So yeah, it's a huge milestone for the United Nations, and yet the world is saying that, okay, the United Nations needs to do more because of what is going on around the world. Yeah, I would say it's quite energetic. We have leaders coming in from all over the world, and they are ready to start their debate by tomorrow, which we believe that the U.S. president will be speaking tomorrow morning, and the Nigerian delegations will be speaking the day after. So yeah, the place is quite tense, and at the same time, there is joy in the air as well.
And one issue that I believe is, adding to that tension is the war in Gaza. Yesterday we saw the UK, Canada, and Australia recognizing the Palestinian state, and we are expecting France and other European nations to also do the same later today when world leaders gather. What would talking about this particular issue, what would a wider recognition of Palestine, mean for Palestinians and Israel?
I think for the Palestinians, it's something of joy for them because they believe that they are joining the world to make global decisions, which is very, very important for them. But for Israel felt like, okay, if the United Nations want peace, they wouldn't have brought Palestinians in. But the United Nations is meant to unite the world and not divide them. So I would say it's a good call for the United Nations, and for Palestinians, they feel is a thing of joy for them. We could see a lot of them already in the United Nations trying to represent in various sections. And for Israel, it's more like, what are they doing here? So yeah, it's a call for the United Nations, and other global leaders are actually supporting the call for the United Nations, bringing them on board. So yes, we are here to unite. We are here to unite the world and not divide them.
All right. As a sustainable development advocate, your group is one of numerous United Nations SDG groups that are represented at the venue. What are advocates like you, looking forward to?
Yeah, basically, we're looking for more sustainable partners, and we're actually clamoring. Recently, we launched the HERO framework, which is basically moving the humanitarian sector from the era of aid into sustainable development and transformation. So, and in this light, we are trusting that the government will begin to also do more rather than just amplifying it, but let them be physical results in this aspect and let the world see that, okay, Nigerians is actually championing basic sustainable development goals as we are doing, and also taking it out to Africa. Just recently, we got other people in other African countries wanting to join the team because they felt the need that they could leverage on the organization in order to get what they need done in their own communities and cities in Africa. So I would say for the Sustainable Development Goals, Nigerians are doing their best and they could do more.
Like you mentioned earlier, Nigeria is expected to, make its address on Wednesday. That's with the Vice President Kashim Shettima. What would you say, our achievements have been in the Sustainable Development Goals, and particularly what more needs to be done?
I would say so far we are one of many countries that believe so much in Sustainable Development Goals. And I would say the office of the SDG in Nigeria are doing a lot to make sure that they actually get what the Sustainable Development Goal stands for across in Nigeria. I would say what needs to be done is we should begin to have more meaningful partnership events, mostly when we travel abroad. When I mean meaningful, they should be meaningful. When we are having events in Nigeria, we should have events that brings together global leaders and global stakeholders that want to also partner with Nigerians and invest in Nigerians, and not doing events that all are still Nigerian attendees, almost 80% Nigerian. So I would say, as an advocate for sustainable development goals, I feel that there is need for us to still do more and embrace more partners in what we are doing in order to make Africa great. And more so, we in Africa as well can also do a huge. We have a huge role to play in the fact that, in the sense that if we come together, we can make Nigeria great. It takes two. It takes one rather to know that, okay, fine, there is a need for transformation in this area. And rather than wait for the government, be the government and become real ambassadors for Nigeria wherever you are and whatever you want, in whatever sector you find yourself in.
All right then, Dr. Ero Ibafidon, founder Water Light Save Initiative and Sustainable Development Advocate. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you so much for having me live today.
Well, moving on the program, U.S. President Donald Trump has hailed conservative activist Charlie Kirk as a great American hero during a mass memorial service in Arizona. Tens of thousands of people gathered at the State Farm Stadium near Phoenix to honor Mr. Kirk, who was shot dead on September the 10th. His wife, Erika Kirk, delivered an emotional tribute, saying she had forgiven her husband's alleged killer. However, President Trump broke with the message of forgiveness, saying he disagreed with Charlie Kirk's belief in always wishing the best for his opponents.
On the cross, our Savior said, "Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do." That man, that young man, I forgive him. I forgive him because it was what Christ did and is what Charlie would do. The answer to hate is not hate. I am tremendously honored to be the new CEO of Turning Point USA. I do not take that lightly. Charlie and I were united in purpose. His passion was my passion, and now his mission is my mission. Everything that Turning Point USA built through Charlie's vision and hard work, we will make 10 times greater through the power of his memory.
And as we end the program today, hundreds of cake lovers, bakers and dessert lovers gathered over the weekend for the debut of the Dubai Cake Picnic, the city's first ever indoor festival dedicated entirely to the art and indulgence of cake. It was held at the Arena 57 in Al Quoz. The event transformed a spacious air-conditioned hall into a vibrant showcase of sugary masterpieces, allowing attendees to sample an array of global treats without battling the summer heat. Well, excited cake lovers mingled amid colorful displays, with bakers adding intricate decorations like fondant flowers and edible art. Attendees ranging from families to professional pastry chefs also enjoyed unlimited samples, turning the hall into a sweet-tooted paradise. And that's it on the program for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde.